Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Season 2 of Knights of Eveningstar. I'm your Dungeon Master, Mark Hulmes, and I'm joined by my lovely cast of players. We have Mica Burton, we have Anna Prosser, we have ShadyPenguinn, because I've got to start it off with the name, and Nate Sharp as well. Thank you all for joining us for Season 2 of Knights of Eveningstar. We're glad to be back. It's been a break.
You guys, hello.
I just like the quiet sort of rock on symbol from Nate there. Just keeping it as we mean to go on. But yeah, we missed you guys. We're glad to be back playing Knights of Eveningstar. If this is your first time joining us, we're going to do a bit of a kind of formal recap, right? And we're going to kind of do like a proper full-on, this is the story so far. We're going to talk a little bit about, from the characters' perspectives, reintroduce you to the characters, and then we're going to jump back into where we left things off in Season 1. I think that is pretty much it. I guess the first thing we should do is have you guys just reintroduce who your characters are for this show.
Yeah. Who first?
Nose goes.
I think it was Mica.
No, that was Anna. Are you kidding?
It was either you or it was one of you two. Me and Nate were on it.
Hang on. I'll
Fine,
roll a D4.
I'll go first.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
My character is Agnis Crownsilver. She requires that you pronounce it Agnes, not Agni, like her pretentious royal family does. She does not hold with the royal tradition that she was raised in. She was raised as a noble, and she has a distant claim to the throne, but she does not think that's very cool. She thinks that the whole royalty situation oppresses the people. And so she walks the delicate balance between using her privilege to help and trying to eschew her privilege as much as possible. She's also related. She's half sister to Shady's character, who he will introduce. And that's been really fun because she is a much older sister and has been kind of embroiled in the nobility, but doesn't like it. Whereas he is just a newcomer to nobility and looks to her for advice sometimes. So very interesting. And she is a wildfire druid, which used to be Unearthed Arcana, but now has just come out in Tasha's. So I will be altering her character sheet to be the official version. I've started working on it, but I just want to give it a couple more checks before I start using it. So one more episode with Agnes as she was, and then next week we'll move to having her the official version. Yeah, nothing much will change, just a couple spells and
roles. And some very minor changes to the wildfire spirit, but nothing too major. Perfect.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I think it only makes sense that Shady tells us about his character next, as the Crownsilver siblings.
You know, I was the first one to do this, Mark, but I will listen to my DM because you make the rules. My character's name is Tarkhal Crownsilver. He grew up as a wood half elf in the King's Forest, King's Wood, and yes, he is the half brother to Agnes, and he found himself in a situation where he was happy with his life, but was offered an opportunity to come into the nobility. And his father kind of urged him and said, hey, this will be a good thing for you. Throughout Season 1, he definitely leaned on Agnes so much to learn. He gained some confidence in his decision-making and abilities to be the Baron of Eveningstar, and finds himself in a tricky situation with a potential Fey demigod or Fey power. Just, I don't know who she is, but she's pretty cute.
Potential situation.
Potential situation. Yes, and that's Tarkhal's story. Also, he's a rogue. I should say that he's a rogue that might be multi-classing soon, but not yet, not today. So don't worry about that, little kids.
Look into that in the
Little
future.
children watching.
Perfect. Let us go with our Magister, War Wizard Extraordinaire, Azara, played by Mica.
That is true. Azara is a war wizard extraordinaire, now turned magister. Her name is Azara Mithras, or Mithras, depending on how you say mithril or mithril, I guess. It depends on your accent.
It changes a lot between me. I probably say both at
same. I do
points.
too. I can't decide which one it is, but she is a draconic bloodline sorcerer. She is descended from the blue dragon of the lightning variety. She once served under a nasty asshole of a royal, but has now come to a nasty asshole of a royal, and has now come to Eveningstar to be magister and advisor to these lovely Crownsilver children. She is a little bit harsh in her ways as she is bred and born in war, but she genuinely has a very kind heart under it all and just wants to see the good in the world. But she's not very good at doing that, at showing it, because she's like, the war changes people. And she also currently has a small crush on the lead of the guard at
your blade
Eveningstar,
captain,
our blade captain Alyssa, because she is a bisexual disaster, just like every character I play. And that is Azara.
That's Azara. And then finally, certainly not last but not least, is our mystery boy, whose mystery got a little bit less mysterious in the very last episode of season 1. Marcel, played by Nate.
Yeah. So Marcel is a half-elf Eldritch Knight. Always keeps a mask up for reasons that are, well, I guess, spoilery for his story. If you haven't watched season 1, then you totally have time right now to go watch the entire thing. It was revealed that he is traveling with a powerful, mysterious sword that is actually imbued with the soul of his brother, whose actual name is Marcel, while Marcel's name was Oliver, which is very confusing. So this was kind of entrusted to Shady's character, touched very lightly on, but that's the gist of it. And he basically almost always disapproves of whatever's going on.
He's definitely the out of everything that's going on, I think he is the most sort of not out of his depth, but the situation is in a depth that he's not interested in, really. It's more a case of going along with everything, hoping to find the answers, right, to his own mysteries. Cool. Those are the characters. Go on.
We should also mention, before we go too far, that we do have our white text friend here who the chat has named Dave.
I was going to mention this. Yes.
Yeah, Dave has taken on the moniker, and I believe is actually in chat as well under Dave WTF.
What?
Oh,
wow.
I believe. I could be wrong. It could be an imposter. I don't know.
Could be an imposter. We don't know.
Super sus.
None of us know.
Saw Dave.
We don't know. We don't even know who White Text Friend is. So
it's true. We just hired somebody random. We put it up on Craigslist and they responded. So.
Absolutely. I've seen a lot of theories to Dave's identity. I'm not going to say whether they're correct or not, but I have seen a lot of theories.
I haven't seen any.
Very interesting.
I must
yeah. Well,
there's deep
with
Dave
that,
lore I don't know about. Wow.
Dave lore, the great mystery. That's the greatest mystery of this campaign. Who is Dave? Who is? You're going to start picking up on subliminal messages in the campaign. It all ties back to Dave's identity. Before we jump into the game, what I wanted to do, and maybe this can even be saved out as a video for folks in the future, I would like to go through and do like a big recap of everything that happened in season 1, maybe get you guys input and your thoughts and feelings about it as well, or if you have like a thing that you suddenly remember that I've forgotten, feel free to jump in. But kind of just going step by step. Knights of Eveningstar is a campaign set in the land of Cormyr in the Forgotten Realms. Cormyr is a land of war wizards, of knights, of royalty, a kind of very Arthurian England sort of location. It is a forest kingdom, very much known for its ancient history with dragons. It has an army called the Purple Dragon Knights, named after the dragon Thormagor, who once kind of ruled over the region, but was eventually defeated by an alliance of elves and humans. Our party are nobles or advisors, as mentioned, who have come into the ownership of a small village called Eveningstar that sits on the high road, one of the main trade roads of Cormyr. Eveningstar is only a small village, but the lands around it are bountiful and full of potential. Now, when these nobles first arrived, Eveningstar was not such a peaceful land. It was actually under attack by a bandit called the Thornhand, Gaius Thornhand. And after investigating the trouble, the party snuck their way into the keep called Starwatch Keep and slew the bandit known as the Thornhand, wresting control of it from their hands, and once again bringing peace and security to Eveningstar. There were a couple of little interesting things with this. There was a mysterious mage, a woman with dark hair and green eyes who seemed to control natural magic, and that sparked a few different things, actually. Azara began investigating who this person could be, going through doing some research, and you discovered that there was some sort of connection to the name Shadowbriar, Azara.
Mm-hmm. The Sylvan was written on a skull that was left behind,
right.
if I remember correctly.
That's correct. Yeah. And then you did some research. You started researching into the Fey and everything else in the area. And you learned that the Kingswood has always been sort of connected to the Feywild. And there's always been sort of stories of Fey beings coming and going, which is very much related to how Tarkhal, Shady's character, started to have strange dreams and visitations by a similar dark-haired, green-eyed woman in the woods who seemed to have a strange connection and spoke of a sickness growing within Cormyr's nobility that she was there to heal. How has Tarkhal how did that start off and where is it now with Tarkhal? Like, how does Tarkhal feel about that, Shady?
I think he was, like, honestly, oddly comforted from the start. I feel as though the witch took advantage of the fact that Tarkhal felt out of place in nobility, especially during the time where she visited him and spoke to him. And then he kind of found some concerns. And as far as how it ended, he's pretty much fully invested in almost, I wouldn't say controlling, but guiding this woman. Yeah.
Nice. Perfect. Whilst that is all going on, throughout Eveningstar, it's only a small village, and so the party began to invest gold into building infrastructure and new buildings. A number of different things have been constructed. An alchemist's hut to provide potions and alchemical healing and a local healer. There's been improvements made to the inn to get that back up and running. Agnis, in particular, has made a lot of efforts to befriend Eveningstar and has gotten to know many of the local families, especially that of young Aaron, who has become her unofficial page. Aaron is a young human boy. Yes, not a book, just a page, who has become sort of a more lovable NPC to the party. And the Bakers, his family, have become particularly good friends of the Baroness. But in general, Agnis has been the one who's kind of been bringing the town together and has particularly befriended a Tressim, a flying cat called the One-Eyed King, who seems to rule over the other Tressim of Eveningstar. And the two of them have formed something of a bond, so much so that Agnis can actually call upon them to act as a unit in battle if a battle were to break out. Speaking of units, Marcel, in fact, actually, before we move on to that, Agnis, I mean, yeah, I think Agnis has been the one who's made the most effort into kind of, working together with the people of Eveningstar and getting to know them, but also kind of promote her ideas of the nobility, right, Anna? Like, there's definitely been that kind of motive of kind of getting them to understand Agnes's point of view, I think.
There's such a really interesting conflict with Agnis of like ends justifying means or means being more than ends. And she kind of toes that line a lot, I think, because King One-Eye, for example, she like unabashedly just flattered him to the position that he's in. So it was whatever he needed, she groveled and like flattered and all of that. That was great. With the people, a lot of times it's trying to encourage them and lift them up. But sometimes if somebody is doing something bad or there's something that is affecting the town in a wrong way, she'll kind of like flex her nobility muscles to get them to change their ways. And so that's where she's kind of like, well, this is helping the people. And if I have this resource, I should use it to help the people. So there's been a lot of that strange, like using whatever is needed in the moment kind of.
Some could call it hypocrisy, but not But I think it's because Agnis is still quite young as well, right? She's grown up with this kind of certain lifestyle. And even if she doesn't realize it, sometimes that nobility kind of shines through a little bit where she can't really help herself. But yeah, speaking of units, one of the developments was a mercenary company came to Eveningstar looking for an employment. And it was a mercenary company already known to Marcel, led by a fellow called Hadley Cooper, who Marcel had a previous connection to and who knew Marcel's actual identity. The Hadley's heroes made their way to Eveningstar and have now embedded themselves as a kind of military force under Marcel's command. They've been left behind whilst the party attend to some business in a nearby city. But Marcel, I guess, what's the kind of plan with Marcel with the whole idea of like Hadley and the others being there? And now that you know a bit more about the group that were sort of after you, is there a plan to maybe, return and get some revenge, mount up the troops and try and track things down?
There may be.
Wow.
I love it.
Not be.
I love it. Every time
Beautiful.
it's like Nate's like, I am mystery man. No answers.
I give you nothing.
Definitely that, and not. I didn't really think that far ahead.
Well, I guess the other thing to mention is I think Nate didn't even really, both Nate didn't know that Hadley, this NPC that we discussed, was going to show up as the leader of this mercenary group. And also the fact that you forgot that they would know your real identity. That was kind of a bit of a surprise for you as a player, as well as it was for me as a DM to really work into the story. So I think that that's kind of brought about a more, a faster revelation to Marcel's character than perhaps was originally intended.
Indeed.
Okay. With that, with Hadley arriving, there's also been a couple of other small additions. Azara has a young assistant, a researcher called Sarah Lee, who is acting as a sort of researcher and scribe for the party, acting out of Azara's tower, which has been turned into a small library. And also, Tarkhal has the services of a sprite called Twig, a very rowdy little fey creature, who has been sent off on a mission to try and learn a bit more about the Fey courts. But with all of that aside, the very last thing that happened was the party traveled to the nearby city of Arabelle, which neighbors Eveningstar and is ruled by Duchess Celeste Marlier. The original intent was to throw a ball and a tournament in the party's honor. However, the party were attacked by a summoned Winter Fey during a court dinner, and then later, Marcel was attacked by a mysterious assassin sent after him specifically. These two events have led to the party's actions in Arabelle being a little bit more disjointed and leaving a lot of unanswered questions as to what's going on. There is some suspects in one Davian Cormoril, a lord of Cormyr, who seems to have some animosity towards the party. And they've also met a young woman who calls herself Shadowbriar, who claims, as far as you guys know, to be the daughter of the Fey that Tarkhal has been speaking with. And a bond is beginning to form between Tarkhal and Shadowbriar. And that is pretty much where we left things off, with just one minor caveat, and that is that your seneschal, a tiefling called Dusk, has been accused of murdering the war wizard who is investigating the attack by the Winter Fey. And that was where we left things off in season 1. Bit of a full-on recap there, but that brings you up to speed with Knights of Eveningstar season 1. Anything you guys want to add? Anything that you feel I've missed, or anything you want to throw in?
Oh, you didn't tell them about stoling. Shady should explain stoling.
Please do, Shady.
Stoling is a game that Tarkhal brought from his childhood in the wood, and you set up a bunch of sticks in a triangle-like fashion and roll a stone down a lane of sorts to knock out as many sticks as you can. And Tarkhal was kind of showing this to the kids in Eveningstar, and then some of the adults seem to be watching and taking interest. And I mean, that really is the major plot point, right, of this whole thing.
That's it. It's all building up to the stoling tournament arc, which is probably going to be season 3. But you know, I don't want to ruin it too early.
Well, and we have all these plans to have that, like, we're going to build a bathhouse and then like a stoling bar or something.
Stoling alley in the pub.
Stoling alley. I certainly hope no armies come to attack Eveningstar, because I'm not sure if a stoling alley will offer much defensive capabilities. But
are you suggesting that entertainment is not important, Mark?
Whoa.
I think as DM, you have the power to make that not happen, Mark.
Nate is right.
Nate, I am but a puppet to the narrative. It's not really for me to control.
So artsy.
All right, Mr. Puppet Man.
Yeah, that's how I get around doing horrible things.
Yes,
It's not me doing it, guys. It's not me. It's the story. It's the dice. They're doing it to you. But with that, shall we play some Dungeons and Dragons, my friends?
Yes, please.
Huzzah.
I mean, I suppose.
Well, it really does begin where we left things off. You are currently in the palace called the Scepter, the kind of ruling building of the city of Arabelle. Arabelle is a quintessential fantasy city with wonderful kind of cobblestone streets and beautifully decorated shop fronts and buildings with little slanted tile roofs. It's a large city. You know, this is bustling with trade and people all over the place. Units of purple dragon knights make their way up and down the streets, and generally the atmosphere is good and lively here. But for you, it is perhaps a little less so. Duchess Celeste Marlier has made it clear that Dusk, your seneschal, has been accused of murder, that even if it perhaps seems unlikely, there are no other suspects, that all of the evidence, even if it does seem particularly convenient, points towards Dusk, and that without somebody else to put to blame, or without an absolute iron-tight alibi, Dusk will be arrested and likely executed for the murder of a war wizard. You have asked to investigate. I think Azara had asked to go and inspect the chambers of Panem, who was the war wizard that was investigating things. But really, that's where we leave it. I believe, if I remember correctly, Elissa, your blade captain, a half-orc blade captain, and Shadowbriar are both with you, having been summoned to discuss events going on. And with that, I leave it over to you guys. What do you guys want to do? How do you want to take this?
Question.
Please do.
If my memory serves me correctly, there was also somebody that Dusk said that he met up with the previous night that we were looking for.
Do you remember the name? Or was it like a refresher?
I do not, sir, which is why I was asking the question.
So the last thing Dusk managed to say to you before they were taken away, and you have been given permission to speak with him, if you wish to go and speak to Dusk further. He mentioned somebody called Xander. That's all he said, is that he couldn't tell you where he was, but that he was with Xander. That was the only thing he could really say. And he was very cagey about the whole subject.
That was my question.
And didn't we started asking around about Xander, didn't we? But we hadn't.
I don't believe you had got that far. I think you had asked the Duchess, and the Duchess had said she wasn't aware of anybody, that her agents weren't aware of somebody called Xander.
Right.
But that was.
But didn't we ask if we could have her agents look into Xander, if she would allow us that resource?
She said that they would be conducting their own investigation, yes, and that she would share with you any information that she gains.
Gotcha.
Whether you believe that is up to you.
Right. I guess the first thing that Azara would do then, with permission to go check out the chambers, since that's where the murder happened, is to go check out the chambers.
Sure. Well, I mean, you guys don't all have to go together. If you'd like to split up, if a couple of you want to do different things, or if you want to go together, now's the time to select. So if Azara's going to go check out the Panam's chambers, this war wizard's chambers, what about the rest of you? What do you guys want to do? Do you even care?
It's interesting that you asked that, because I was just thinking, like, I do care because Dusk is innocent in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm wondering, like, do we know that Dusk is innocent?
That seems like a great question to go and ask him.
Can we? We have access to him?
Yeah, you can go and speak to him. Yeah, they've said that they're happy for you to go and speak to him. In fact, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I will tell you this now. It is likely that Dusk will be placed under a zone of truth spell and will be questioned by the guards here. So if you did want to go and speak to him, it is highly likely that you will be able to do so with magical support to lend aid to your questioning.
Yeah, that sounds like something I'd be interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have Marcel and Tarkhal both going to do that. Agnis, would you want to go with Tarkhal and Marcel and leave Azara to do the magic stuff?
Unless she wants my help.
I would probably request somebody to come with me.
Sure.
I'll go with her.
Okay. Elissa will also come with you. She'll be like, well, I will come with you, Magister. I obviously won't leave you alone. Shadowbriar will turn to the group of you and say, I don't really know this Dusk fellow of your own, but I know a little magic. I'm happy to help wherever I can, if it will help you.
Azara, do you think it's a good idea if Willow Song goes with you?
I would be happy to have all the help possible to prove Dusk's innocence. Thank you.
Of course, yes. And she will just happily go with you as well. Okay, so it seems like we've got two teams here. We'll start with Marcel and Tarkhal, if that's all right. You are taken down into the lower sections of the scepter beneath the city, and it becomes very, very quickly clear that you're being taken down into the dungeon where prisoners are kept. It is a well-kept prison. It's very clean. There are multiple guards, and the prisoners are, this isn't they're thrown into squalor. They are kept in fairly good conditions, clean water, some basic food is supplied, and you are led down to the far end kind of cell, which is a round stone chamber. Inside, you can see a masked and robed priest is stood on the outskirts of the room and is asking questions. You can hear them being asked already. Did you, you kind of hear like the generic sort of like, did you kill War Wizard Panam? And then you hear the kind of hoarse voice of Dusk. No, I didn't. Have you been affected by any magic or spell casting in the last 24 hours? Not to my knowledge, no. You hear a few moments. They notice that you're kind of waiting, and they say, Baron Crownsilver, is it? We were told that you may wish to come and speak with the man.
Yes. Is he currently under a spell of truth?
It affects the chamber, but yes, he is currently under the effect. We believe it to have taken effect, and we are asking questions. However, it is not entirely impossible for someone to bypass this spell. If the individual's memory has been modified, they can answer to the truth to the best of their knowledge. Some people, it has been known for criminals to have this done voluntarily in the past. To enable them to lie through these kind of enchantments. It may also be that he has a spell that allows him to lie even through it. There are as many magics that we're not aware of. We can only do our best questioning we can. But his answers will be noted. It is difficult, so they will be noted down. Would you like to ask him some questions yourself, Baron?
Yes, I would. And I guess Tarkhal will walk up, closer to the cell.
Is this man with you? And he gestures towards Marcel. I was not informed that is this man with you?
Yes, of course. This is Marcel. Yes.
Very well. I will permit the two of you. I will need to remain for any questioning if that is acceptable.
Yes, no, that's fine.
Very well.
So just really quick clarification. This spell of truth, this zone of truth that affects the chamber, this isn't of any vindication. Right, no matter what he answers, there could be some shade thrown his way that he has a way to lie through it. It's more of a formality.
It is a formality. You're correct, Baron. Yes, there is. It will be taken into account, but we cannot eliminate the possibility that he is still bypassing the magic in some way. And we still have witnesses that place him at the scene of the crime or near the scene of the crime. We have physical evidence to provide that he is there. He has also refused to answer our question as to his location that night. That is the most current damning evidence against him, is that he will not tell us where he was or who he was with.
Okay. And I guess Tarkhal will gesture to Marcel and we'll walk up closer if we're not already there. And Dusk, is there anything you're hiding from us?
He kind of looks up and you can see he looks tired. This purple skinned tiefling, one broken horn, one kind of stretches up. He's not wearing his jacket. He normally has like a really well done up velvet kind of jacket, like almost like a butler's jacket. That's been taken off and he's now just in a kind of loose shirt and a pair of trousers and boots. He just kind of looks up wearily. He's just like, I'm so sorry, my lord. Yes, there are things that I've kept from you, not through any ill intent. There are elements of my past that I'm not particularly proud of, that I hoped to shield yourself and the Baroness from any potential danger or any misgivings. I've done the best that I can, and I've tried to be a true and an honest servant as best as I can, but I'm afraid that there are things I've hidden. But I did not kill this man. I did not kill this war wizard. I'd barely heard of him.
Well, this information you withhold is damning no one but yourself. So perhaps double think who you're really trying to protect.
It is... Minister Marcel, I wish it were... It would be easier to speak to the two of you alone. And he kind of looks in the direction of the masked priest, who's kind of lingering by the door.
Is there any way, I'll look to the guards, is there any way we can have just a moment alone with Dusk?
He looks at you. Make a persuasion check for me, Tarkhal.
Sure. 12 plus 10. Oh, 22. Wow, I forgot how persuasive.
Nice.
You are a very persuasive man. I think that the masked priest, you can't see who they are underneath. It's kind of like a full kind of golden mask covering them. They look between the two of you. They seem to weigh it up in their mind and say, he cannot lie. I can merely ask him a question later. If he provides you with any information that you feel relevant to our situation, I highly encourage you to inform me of it, Baron. I will give you a few moments to discuss personal matters, and then they make their way to the other end of the corridor out of earshot.
I'll look at Marcel, since Marcel kind of got him to get that far anyway, and I'll be like,
So I'm gonna take my sword out.
God, really?
He's in like cell.
You see Dusk's eyes kind of go wide a bit, yeah? Yeah, he's in like a round stone cell.
Okay. I'm just gonna I swing it pretty hard, just like up against the whatever windows or railings or whatever.
It's like
he's
bars,
blocking.
like iron bars.
Oh, okay. Iron bars it is. A loud ding, and then I'm going to use that sword to detect magic to see if I find anything fishy.
Okay. Sure. Let me just figure one thing out here. So yeah, the sword strikes the metal bars. You hear this loud kind of ding ringing sound. You see Dusk wince when you swing, like almost like he's expecting some sort of spell to come and kill him. The enchantment passes over you. Your eyes kind of glaze for a moment as the sword begins detecting magic, and you hear Marcel, your brother's voice. Yes, there is magic here, brother. There's a strong aura of enchantment around Dusk in the area. That might be the truth spell that was cast earlier. I'm not detecting anything else, however. I think that's it.
I just don't say anything out loud. Just mind tell him thank you. And I'll put it away.
Sure.
Right. So you are in a position where you will be telling us the truth. We've got rid of them as your request. Yes. Perhaps now you can indulge us as to what is it you're keeping secret that is worth your life.
If only it were my life just at risk, Lord Marcel. I was not always a seneschal. I think yourself has picked up on perhaps I'm not quite everything that I appear to be.
Yes, the lying about the leg and the cane, I'm aware.
Yes.
We have established you are a dishonest person.
Call it a professional habit. The truth is that I was once a member of the Zentarim. Do you know much of the Black Network?
Can I roll for that? Because above board I do.
Sure. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, make a history check.
10.
I think that even on a 10, anything like the kind of basic knowledge that I think, Nate, you probably have a lot more detailed knowledge, but you've heard of the Zentarim, of the Black Network, spies, smugglers, assassins, very shady folks that operate all across Faerun and Tarkhal. Maybe not the intricate details of like who their true leadership is, but you've definitely heard of them being a shady bunch of people you can go to get answers. It may even be people that Marcel might have worked for or has worked against in the past, perhaps during your mercenary days, or maybe you've asked them to look into things for you, because they are generally very good at finding out things that people want to know and doing things that people need done. So yeah. You definitely know that. Shady, I don't know if you want to make a check as well, or if you're just happy to be like, never heard of them.
I guess I'll check, especially being a rogue from the woods. I might as well. I rolled a 19.
Right. So... Okay. So very much the same. I think that you wouldn't necessarily have the more kind of esoteric magical knowledge, but in the Kingswood especially, and you especially, you have definitely worked. Maybe you've helped some people who claim that they are, they're like, oh yes, we're part of, we're friends, and you'd recognize them by the winged snakes that they often use to carry messages. You've maybe helped them kind of smuggle goods through the woods before, or maybe helped kind of protect meetings that they've had as like little odd jobs here and there. Maybe your father has done some business with them in the past, but yeah, you have also heard of the Zhentarim, the Black Network, smugglers, spies, assassins. They're found all over the place, really. Kind of scum and villainy from Star Wars, if you want to think of them that way, kind of that sort of thing. But yeah, Dusk kind of sees the recognition of the name in your eyes. I'm not surprised that the two of you are aware of the network. For a long time, I was one of their agents. Worked all the way to the Sword Coast. Even made a trip towards Thay once. I was pretty good at it. I was especially adept at working in noble courts, gleaning information, passing on secrets. But I got out of that life nearly a decade ago now. At no small personal cost to myself and some close friends. But I got out and I took a job working for the courts here in Cormyr. I love this land. I love the people here. And Eveningstar especially has become very precious to me. The person that I met yesterday, Xander, they are an active agent of the Zhentarim. They operate here in Arabelle. And that knowledge alone is dangerous. If you get on their wrong side, they will see you as an enemy.
So the group that can clear your innocence for this crime is... And it just kind of like Tarkhal just kind of like shakes his head.
Yeah, he says, yes, it's not, I do not expect them to risk anything to help me. I'm no longer an agent. I went to them. I was hoping that maybe my old contacts might be able to help us learn something about this Davian Cormoril, or about the problems that have been plaguing Eveningstar. I heard about what happened at the dinner, and I thought if anybody might know something, it would be them. If he's up to something, then they likely have information on Davian that could be useful. But yes, they met me in the Viridian End, the district. They blindfolded me, took me to a location. I remember some of the details of how I got there, but I don't know exactly where the meeting took place.
Is it possible that they're responsible for this death?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Considering I was with Xander last night when all of this apparently took place, and it seems peculiar. It was so sudden that even the network doesn't move as quickly as this. Whoever killed this war wizard, I mean, they knew everything that happened at the dinner. Information of that attack hasn't even made it out onto the city yet. People don't know about it. Somebody who was there must have done it. Somebody who was there must have known that this wizard was involved somehow.
I think I have an idea of who that is, but apparently he's long gone, Lord Davian.
If you want to find Xander, I can tell you, I have a bit of a photographic memory. I'm a very keen mind. I remember I met them in the Viridian End. They walked me past a fountain, flowing water. Then there was a building. We got turned around. There was an oddest sensation. The building that we went into, it was like there was a glowing green light out the front. I could see it through the blindfold, like it was bobbing around like a magical orb or something. We went inside. They took me downstairs. And then I remember this because it was very peculiar. The two people escorting me, they were struggling with something, some sort of puzzle or riddle or something. And they spoke it out loud. They said, a blind man sits outside a tavern and holds out a cup with 6 gold coins in it. A noble comes along and takes the gold, replacing it with twice as many silver coins, and the blind man thanks them. A thief comes along and asks if he can inspect the coins. The thief swaps the silver coins for copper ones, and says everything seems fine. A priest takes pity on the blind man, gives him 1 electrum coin for every 4 copper coins, and says he should praise the gods in thanks. The blind man waits till nightfall, takes off his blindfold, and then turns the electrum coins into platinum ones with a spell, and buys the most expensive bottle of wine he can. It was so odd, it was so strange a thing to be saying out loud that I remembered it. I think it must be some sort of passphrase or a code or something like that.
Well, I don't know how much that will help us, but it sounds like if we want to meet Xander, we should go to the Viridian End.
Maybe try and follow those steps. Look for a fountain and then a building with a green orb, and then head downstairs somehow. Xander is a businessman. If you have money or favors, maybe he can help. If nothing else, maybe he can look into Davian or try and find him, locate him. But I'm not sure that he'll really do much to help me.
Well, like you said, if we can offer favors, we are people in power now of Eveningstar. So you've been nothing but good to us since we've come to rule over Eveningstar, and I'm not particularly fond of losing you to a crime you didn't commit.
Baron, you need to understand the network. If you promise them a favor, we're not talking about just some easy job, or they'll dig their claws in. The network is, once they get hold of you, they will desperately not let go. Don't make any promises on my account.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Thank you. I don't deserve your kindness for keeping this from you, but I can promise you that if you help me, I will serve you loyally and tell you everything that you need to know until my dying day. I promise you that, both of you.
Well, we'll do what we can, and don't worry about hiding your past. You're the second person, and Tarkhal kind of like does like a little woo woo woo, second person to show me that things come out when they need to come out, and no time sooner.
You're too good a man to be a noble, Tarkhal Crownsilver.
And I guess Tarkhal will just like nod and look at Marcel and kind of be like, "We gotta go."
Yeah, you can see the masked priest is beginning to return. So at that point, unless Marcel, there's anything you want to do or say?
No, and this priest who's guarding him, he isn't in any kind of authority to like release him if anything checks out, right? Okay.
Yeah. He's just basically you think that he's here to cast the spell and then ask a bunch of generic questions, write down the answers, and then that will go to somebody else, probably the Duchess, to make a formal decision. With such a heinous crime, the murder of the Duchess's own war wizard, you suspect that she will be the one to basically be judge, jury, not executioner, but judge and jury at least. Cool.
Sweet. All
right. Well, if nothing else, we will swap over to Team 2, CSI Investigation Team 2, the Mage Squad. So Azara, Agnis, Elissa, and Willowsong, Shadowbriar, make your way to the quarters of the War Wizard. It's not difficult to find. The guards can point you the way. Panam was Duchess Celeste's kind of chief investigator for a lot of matters and researcher. So he was quite prominent in the Scepter, and so he has his own study and chambers. You are taken to them, where 2 guards are stationed outside. They kind of snap to attention on seeing Elissa and Agnis and Azara, and one of them steps forward. Baroness, Magister, we currently have one of the priests of Ogmar inside, currently investigating. We've not allowed anybody else in or out since we discovered the body this morning. If you have any questions, I can try and answer anything you need to know. Otherwise, we can just let you inside if need be. We were informed you might be coming by.
Also, above game real quick, I think I did ask last session if the guards could send for Sarah Lee to meet us at the chambers.
Sarah Lee is there then. Absolutely. Cool. Yeah.
Just wanted to
nervously waiting, not quite sure what's going on. Classic, looking awkward. Sarah Lee is there.
Wonderful. Azara will look to Agnis, seeing as she is the Baroness here to see if she wants to say something to the guards before we go in.
You will have authority in this as well, because this is a magical matter. So this is war wizard business. So
Yeah, Agnes is pretty much following Azara's lead and just trying to use her observant feat to pick up on anything and everything. So I don't think she's saying much to the guards. I think she's just looking them up and down to see if there's anything noticeable about them that could be useful later or could be strange.
Yeah, I think before we jump into Azara, the first things you notice, these are very trained military guards. These aren't just common grunts. You suspect that these are probably knights, and it's a little below them to be guarding this, but because it's such a high-profile thing, they've been stationed here to show this is pretty serious. You're not coming in this room unless we say you can. They're not senior knights. They're probably quite low, low-ranking knights, but they are still quite senior guardsmen. There's nothing really else that you would notice on the doorway leading into this room. I think the only thing that would strike you is it is a very sturdy door. It has a lock to it. Yeah, I think that those are the kind of key things that you would notice immediately.
Okay.
So yeah.
Nothing super surprising then, right?
Not yet.
Then Azara would just say, "Thank you, gentlemen. I think we have it from here," and lead everybody in.
Okay, sure. Go on.
No, you said that there's a priest in there. Is it the same?
Yes. So when you open the door, in fact, I think that one of the guards would open it for you all. They actually turn around, they pull out a key, unlock it, and then open it. And when you look inside, the Panam study is extremely well kept, very well organized space. It has a few bookcases, a writing desk. Everything is very orderly and very, very particularly placed. There is a far end of the room. There's a neatly made bed with a small lounge area for relaxing and eating as well. You can see that inside there is a pool of blood. You can see that there is an imprint left where the body has been lifted and taken away. The desk has a few papers on it, an inkwell that's been knocked over and spilled, and a broken quill on the floor. And standing over it all, you see a very nervous, they look probably like they come from Icewind Dale. They do have like slightly tan skin, very dark hair, very dark eyes. Priest, like a friar. He's wearing like friar robes, and he's clutching a very large, heavy leather tome and wears a holy symbol of Ogma, the god of knowledge. And you can see that through tiny little spectacles, he's kind of peering down at the desk and looking around the room and kind of stroking a little kind of goatee beard as he kind of looks around. He doesn't even hear you guys come in. He seems to be so engrossed in looking around that he hasn't noticed you arrive.
Then Azara will clear her throat a little and go, "Excuse me, pardon me, sir."
And it like takes him a few seconds after you stop speaking, and then he kind of turns around. Are you supposed to be in here? I don't think anyone's supposed to be in here. Guards, are they meant to be in here?
Yes.
And you Oh, you are. Well,
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Do I bow? I'm not sure. I can't remember.
No. There's no need for that. Don't worry.
Just excellent.
Go about your business. We're just observing.
I was before you interrupted me.
By all means.
Thank you. I will. And he just goes back, and you see him kind of move up to like the windows, and he begins running like a finger around the edges, looking at the dust. Smells it. And you just see him kind of pottering around, like looking at very odd things. Seems very strange.
Azara
Very strange
kind of
fellow.
like gives Agnes a look, and then like looks back to him. And it's like, "Sir, sorry, I don't mean to bother you again.
A war wizard.
Yes.
Excellent. I'm sorry about your companion.
Oh, I barely knew the man, but thank you.
Never mind then.
Azara's kind of thrown off by that.
Are you all right? Are you well? You seem confused, my dear woman.
No, sir. Do you mind me asking who you are?
Introductions.
Yes.
Sometimes those are important, yes. I am Brother Yulin of the noble priesthood of Ogma, god of knowledge and understanding. Praise be. And he kind of lifts his book up to the air. And who are you?
I am Azara Mithras. I am a war. No matter why were you called here? I just would like to establish our bearings here a little bit.
Well, War Wizard Panem was the chief investigator, and he has been killed. So the question of who should investigate the investigator's death, well, a difficult choice had to be made. The God of Knowledge, the body had to be examined. I have knowledge of medicine, and so I was requested. And now, a mystery. Strange mystery. Unanswered questions. A test of Ogma, perhaps.
Ogma?
Ah, I see you are unwise to the ways of the God of Knowledge. And he just turns, he's like, Ogma is the book of all things. All great knowledge is passed from Ogma's divine presence.
Great.
Indeed.
Well, if you don't mind, sir, we are more of the magical variety in this group here, so we will be doing our own investigation. We won't step on your toes. I'm sure you won't step on ours.
I would hope
here.
not. I'm wearing sandals.
Azara just kind
he
of
lifts his
away
robe to show off his sandals, that he's wearing little leather sandals. It would be quite painful. He just drops his robe. If you have any questions,
turns away.
if you have questions about the body or what I have, the room, ask me. I will continue to ponder.
Well, have you found anything of note yet?
Notes. There's plenty of notes on the table. Much of it magical in nature. Nonsense to me. Reads some sort of thesis or some such. Few things of interest note. When I examined the body, a powerful blow to the back, a stabbing weapon. Very strong, whoever used it. The musculature was damaged in such a way that whoever delivered the blow must have done so with tremendous force. Tremendous.
When you say tremendous, do you mean inhuman?
Oh, the greatest of warriors, champions, tournament winner. Somebody of great peak physical strength.
I see.
It collapsed, broke many of the bones, the ribs. Very powerful blow. The other thing of note with the body, a poison detected in the system. Two types. There was green dragon blood poison, very venomous, very dangerous stuff, but also residue of a magical poison. The way that the musculature, the way that the tissue had been damaged indicates a inhaled poison. The lungs were blackened on the inside.
Was there any signs of force entry in the room, whether the door or the window?
Another interesting question. That is a curious matter of this case. Seemingly not. The war wizard, being a war wizard, had cast wards on their door. An alarm spell and a glyph of warding that should have prevented anyone who opened the door without permission from entering, or at least would have blown them to smithereens had they attempted to do so. The guards that evening witnessed Panem set the wards, as is routine, and then they left. Once the war wizard has set wards, there is generally no need to guard their premises anymore. But they watched him set the wards, lock the door. That was it. When the attendant came to awaken Panem this morning, they opened the door without issue. I have concluded, therefore the wards were no longer active. Most curious. However, the door still locked, and the key inside.
So the wards were down, but the door was locked.
Seemingly so.
So either a very powerful caster brought down the wards, or the war wizard let someone in.
I am not familiar with the essences of magic. Your Magister Azara, was it? But this is more in your understanding. You don't need to make a check, Mica, on this.
Yeah.
Things like these spells could be dispelled. I mean, you know that
Right.
the dispel magic is a thing that can be done. They can be dispelled. It is something that any suitably powerful mage would be able to do. And also things like teleportation. A wooden door might not really hold up much defense against somebody who can sort of, teleport.
I'm going to gesture to Sarah Lee, seeing that everything is kind of really organized. I say,
You see Sarah Lee is just looking at this pile of blood and is just like,
Azara will kind of like step in front of it so Sarah Lee can walk around it, just making sure like holding out her arm.
she just like shuffles around it, trying not to look at the blood as best she can. Yeah, is there something that you want me to look for in particular,
Yes.
Magister Azara?
Yes, my dear, if you wouldn't mind, seeing as Magister Panem was so organized, perusing through his most recent notes to seeing if anything, I'm sure that is dated, is missing or out of place. I know you read at such a speed, and I would be so grateful if you could find anything out of place. Thank you.
Yes, very well. And she kind of makes her way to the other side of the desk where the blood isn't, and then starts turning books around and looking at them from that direction. Alyssa will say, I don't think there's really much I can do here, but should I speak to the guards out front, see if the guards that were here last night, I could speak with them?
That would be wonderful. Thank you very much, Blade Captain.
She just looks to Agnis like, is that, are you okay? Is there anything else you want me to do, kind of thing?
And nod.
Okay. All right. She's like, all right, well, I'll leave you to it. You can see Shadowbriar is just kind of awkwardly, like somebody who doesn't know what to do with themselves and is just kind of like stood there politely, just like.
Did she ever say what kind of spellcaster she was?
No.
Okay. Then Azara will turn to her and go, Dear Shadowbriar, what
Willow
magic...
Song is fine.
Oh, Willow Song. What magic, dear, do you specialize in? I'd love to utilize your specialties here.
Well, I have some natural magics like my mother has. A little bit of divination as well. I can examine for things like traces of magic. I can identify items, that sort of thing. See invisible creatures, that sort of element.
Is there any way you could divine if there was absolutely a dispel magic spell that was cast here last night, or if the wards were broken? Thank you.
I can certainly try. I'll have a look outside the door, yes. And she kind of makes her way out to do so.
While that's happening, Azara is going to... What is an animal with the best sense of smell?
A dog?
Dogs? Wolves?
Like a really keen
hound?
Wolf.
Yeah, like a bloodhound.
Yeah, like a bloodhound. Azara's gonna polymorph into a bloodhound real quick.
Nice.
Okay. Sure.
And do some sniffing to see if she can pick up a scent. Especially because I think that she knows like Dusk's scent really well, and she could discern it. No, does she not?
No, I'm actually thinking. No, this is a very good move. This is something I hadn't thought of, and so we now have to think.
Got the DM.
Interesting.
But yes,
I would like you to make a perception check with me with advantage, because the Bloodhound would definitely have advantage on this.
Okay.
This would actually be using the Hound stat. So hang on, let me see if I can find like a Bloodhound.
If I
polymorph,
do manage,
not wild shape.
Manage extras.
I'm gonna say Mica's like a druid right now. This is exciting.
I do love me some druids.
So good.
So it's basically because with polymorph, you have the intelligence and like the wisdom, like you don't keep those when you polymorph. So let me look and see. So yeah, like a bloodhound would be like a dog or something like that.
A dog with like a real good nose, a real good sniffer.
Smell out crime. You got a nose for
reliable.
crime.
Reliable. Oh, lady in the trail.
Thank you. I knew you'd get it.
I got you.
I'm sure there's like a mastiff or something like that.
Oh, mastiffs are also cool.
Mastiff. There we go. So yeah, they have advantage on wisdom perception checks that rely on hearing or smell. Give yourself, it's just a +1, but you have +3, sorry, but you have advantage on the check.
Okay. That would be a dirty 20.
Okay. And then Agnis, you're using your observant feat, right, to look around the room and stuff and examine. Okay, so
I'm like
we'll do
SherlockHulmesing, like math and words.
That's exactly how I was going to describe it.
Mind callousing.
Yes.
It's more that I think for me, what would work with Agnis really well is you notice things out of place. You look at the whole room and you can see where things are missing or where things seem unusual. And there's two things that strike you, Agnis. One, in the bookshelves, the books are perfectly organized. They're stacked perfectly neatly. Panem must have had some sort of, like a particular way of doing things.
System.
There are several books missing. You can see the gaps. They've tried to like shove books together, but the sizes change, or like the colored spines don't match in the same way as the rest of the system. And there are 3 books missing. You don't know which books they are, but maybe somebody like Sarah Lee might be able to kind of deduce from the collection what's missing. The other thing you notice is the papers that Sarah Lee is currently going through. At least one of them was in a different location than the rest of them. Like it as if it had been worked on recently, or it had been moved recently, or something like that. And it's the one closest to the ink stain and the ink broken quill as well.
Can I pick up that paper and examine it even closer? Like hold it up to the light, see if there's any like secret message, or if the handwriting is different.
The handwriting isn't different. It does look like it was Panem's handwriting. When you touch it, because I think that he would have set it to be Agnis, Azara, or Tarkhal, or Marcel, or like anybody who's involved in the investigation. The writing, what first appears to be like some boring thesis about transmutation magic, the script itself begins to reshape and reform.
Cool.
And it turns into a whole different message as soon as you touch it. So whilst that is changing, meanwhile, Azara, as the Bloodhound, you don't get any scent of Dusk. You do not smell Dusk here. Nothing of Dusk remains. There is a very unusual smell that goes with it. You can smell Panem. You can smell parchment and ink and the rusty red iron of blood. You can smell like a noxious after smell, like a gas was in this room and it's covered a section of the room, almost like a blast of it erupted from the doorway back into the room. And you can smell it. Looking at some of the books and the tables, they've got ever so slight discoloration and almost like a fine powder on them that looks like it's some residue of some sort of gas that came in here. But amongst it all, such a faint, delicate scent. Smells a bit like... Smells like reptilian. Smells like the woods. Smells like kind of trees and leaves. But there's a hint of perfume in it as well. So Agnis, the paper that you're holding, as it begins to change and shift, it seems to so the paper is actually, it's not addressed to you, but you get the sense that this is what Panem was writing the night he was killed. The way that it talks about at the dinner, Magister Azara and I found the dagger that was used to summon the creature. I have taken one of the fragments with me. This is the report of my findings, in researching this matter. I cannot sleep. I'm fascinated by it. This is an ancient magic, powerful. This must be from the time before Thormagor, when the elves and humans first united against the tyranny of the dragons. In this weapon, old magic, an old oath was sworn that when it was summoned, a warrior would answer and fight whoever they could see. These weapons have been noted to exist in the royal and noble family lines of Cormyr, passed down from generation to generation by those first humans that made alliances with the elves and the Feywild to fight against Thormagor. These weapons were passed down as a last resort to defend themselves or to fight against their enemies. The last note before the kind of writing gets scrawled off is... I want to see, I must try and search the records, see if Cormoril had a house or had records of his family owning these weapons. It might match the dagger's description, and then it ends.
Is Sarah Lee still poring over the notes? I don't want to interrupt her.
Yeah, Sarah Lee's looking at the other books and things that were on the desk, and she just is like, no, this seems to just be blah, blah, blah. This just seems to be this. And she's just sort of going through that other stuff at the moment.
So if I understand this correctly, this is to describe that this magic weapon that we saw that caused all the uproar during the feast could have roots in Cormyrean nobility?
Seems to be implying that. It seems to be that from your knowledge of your own history, because you're a Cormyrean noble, you would know this. You don't think that such a weapon is in the Crownsilver line, but what Panem seems to be suggesting is that the dagger comes from a time when the elves and humans allied against Thormaglaw, which was this ancient black dragon that dominated Cormyr. And it's where the purple dragon knights get their name. When he was slain, they kind of named this order of knights after him. The elves gave to the human families these weapons that when they needed to, they could summon an Eladrin warrior to fight on their behalf. And these weapons would pass down in the generations as, an heirloom to be kept and used in a time of great danger. And Panem's last thoughts was if he could find a record of who had these weapons and see if the description matched to one of the families, and he believed it would match against Davian Cormorils.
I see. You said that I couldn't tell which books are missing, but knowing that, can I determine whether I think the books may be like Cormyrean genealogies or records of noble families?
So looking through the books, none of the books here in Panem's study are focused on like those kind of matters. It's all magical in nature. You can see ones kind of relating to studies of transmutation, studies of enchantment, the effects of elemental powers, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, looking to you. Make an Arcana check for me. Let's just see if you can kind of like make a good
it's
estimate.
my first roll. Hold on. I forgot my dice.
You're going to need those. The struggle of like headphones and like reaching over.
Can't believe I forgot that. Okay. That will be 14.
14. Looking around, it's difficult to fully tell. I think you're going to need somebody who's a bit more of an expert on this. But you can clearly see that there is a section of books has been removed. It's in between sort of like studies of the planes and then conjuration magic. It seems to be between the two kind of sections. But you wouldn't be able to really make a guess as to what. You'd need somebody who's a bit more studied in Arcana.
All right. I'll wait till Sarah Lee's done before I'll ask her to help.
Okay, cool. Mica.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Oh.
We are back. Hopefully, we had
Hello.
a little stream hiccup there, but we are back. Meanwhile, in the break, we had a lovely conversation about Lord of the Rings. It was great. But we had the Toilet Boys pop off to a little quick bio break. That's my new name for them. Yeah, that's the new name.
Us.
That's us, Toilet Boys. EP coming
Toilet
soon.
Boys. Yeah, it's the new Saturday morning cartoon show starring Shady and Nate. So
I love it.
Yeah, we're back. And we're going to continue on. So I believe that we are still in CSI investigation mode
Yes.
with Azara and Agnis. And
Azara
Azara has
would
a
like to do
question.
a thing. Azara would like to do a
Okay.
thing. After smelling perfume, Azara would like to take a little sniff of shadow briarwood.
Interesting.
Yeah, she just wants just to make sure. She just wants to take a little sniff.
Interesting.
like,
give me another perception check.
Okay. But she wants to make it like sneaky, so it's not like she's obviously sniffing her. It's like she's sniffing the area around her, but like she's giving her a good hearty sniff. Am I getting advantage on this?
Yes, you would. Yeah, absolutely.
Nope. 18, 19, 20, 21.
21. Okay. I have to look up something.
Oh. That's never good for players.
Oh God, this is so. You're currently a Mastiff, which means that you have all of the like intelligence and stuff of a Mastiff as well.
Oh no.
And that means I have to look up a thing. Oh no.
I hope Mastiffs are smart.
Okay. So yeah, you wander up in Mastiff form and you're kind of sniffing around the door and you're like sniffing around the guards and stuff, and you can see Willow Song or Shadowbriar is examining the door area, and she's kind of gesturing around and sort of examining the door, looking at runes or something. You're not sure. You get the same smells that you have before. You can smell, what she's been close to. So I guess like probably, the streets where she's like traveled to the thing. There might be a little touch of like Tarkhal scent there as well, because they were hanging out the evening before, just like a lingering thing. But you also smell perfume.
The same one?
Same perfume. Yep.
Fuck.
Can you tell if it's like she has been around the person wearing that perfume, or she is wearing that perfume?
Yeah.
So,
like, is that something that's differentiated?
It's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell because it's so faint. It's like a really faint smell. It's not like she's slathered in it. It's, just a lingering scent.
Okay. Can I unpolymorph?
I believe you can end any spell you can end a spell as you want to if it's a concentration spell. So yes.
Then I'm going to unpolymorph.
Ooh, and while Azara is sniffing Shadowbriar, I want to perceive her micro expressions and see if she's worried about being smelled.
Okay. Well, Azara was doing it sneakily, so I would say that maybe Agnis wasn't 100% be clear on what the current play is.
Oh, okay.
But watching her expressions and things like that, there is a curiosity as the Mastiff Azara, this kind of slightly blue-gray Mastiff is kind of sniffing around. And there is almost like a moment of concentration where you can see Willow Song kind of like almost seems to like not frown, but almost like she's concentrating on something. As the dog's sniffing around, and then she just kind of relaxes her face and sort of turns back to what she was doing.
I'll ask her what was that?
I don't know why. I don't know why. Is this Magister Azara? I'm assuming so, as she's not here. What I'm just wondering what she's sniffing for.
Well, every sense is valuable in learning what has happened here.
Yes, I fully agree. Yes, I just thought it curious for a moment. Agnis. What's on your mind at the moment? What's Agnes's thought process at the moment? What are you thinking about? Are you suspicious of Willow Song? Is that why you're looking?
No. Not necessarily. I think probably I'm mostly absorbed with this idea that like this weapon had ties to nobility, and he was the investigator was on the track of finding that out, and someone killed him. So like This fits very well into Agnes's worldview of how evil nobility is. So she's probably like hyper focused on
excellent.
What did he know and what did they take? So she's really just like waiting for Sarah Lee to be done to be like,
perfect. Yeah. Well, I think Sarah Lee is pretty much done. She kind of cast the last book down and is like, well, I don't think there's anything here. Baroness, was there something on that one that you're holding?
Yes. But I'd rather not say quite yet.
So as you say that, that's when Azara unpolymorphs.
Yes. Azara is gonna really calmly, like real chill, kind of turn her back to the door and like make like she's looking at something.
Azara, what are you thinking?
What am I thinking?
Yeah, what's Azara thinking about right now?
I'm probably thinking like
she's a mind reader.
Are you thinking that holy shit, I just smelled this same perfume and I think Willow Song's up to something by any chance?
I don't think that would. I think Azara, being a trained war wizard, would not want to, especially if she suspects that the suspect is there, like briefly, Azara would fill her head with something mundane completely and totally. I think that she would start thinking about like, well, we have to start looking through books and we have to start, translating runes. I hope Sarah Lee doesn't mind working overtime. That would be quite a bummer.
You're actively trying to fill your thoughts with nonsense or like just generic banal
and not nonsense so it's suspicious, but
but like banal, normal, boring stuff.
Yes, absolutely. I think
interesting.
If the thought while she was a dog would have been fleeting, and knowing that there may be enemies amongst her, she would immediately shield her thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, still thinking of that, Azara will walk up to Agnis and she'll just go, Mistress Crownsilver, I think that with everything that we've found here, and I know that Sarah Lee has found a lot of good notes or what have you, I think that we should probably retire to a more private place. And she kind of looks over at the monk dude.
Brother Yulon.
Brother Yulong. Brother Oolong Tea. And she says, I think it would be best if we retire to a more private setting to discuss our findings.
Certainly, if you don't mind waiting just one moment.
Absolutely.
Sarah Lee, could you take a look at this bookshelf? I've noticed that three books are missing, and I'm wondering if you can tell me what they might have been. And she points to where they're missing.
Oh yes. Oh, very well spotted, Baroness. Oh yes. Well, I can see here. War Wizard Panem has a very excellent collection and very solid system. If I were to guess, I can't know for certain. I don't know the titles of the books, but based on the way that they have categorized their books and the systems here, yes, it's planar in nature. I suspect something related to summoning planar forces, perhaps the Feywild. It seems to be connected to subjects around that matter, I suspect.
Interesting. I take the paper with me that I was reading. I just try to not make a big deal out of it and see if anyone notices. And then I just say, lead the way, Magister Azara.
Azara will also kindly turn to Willow Song and say, Dear Willow Song, would you mind running to fetch Tarkhal and Marcel, seeing as you and him have such, and she kind of winks, like a close relationship. Would you mind having them meet us back at our lodgings?
Nice.
Sure. Yeah. Willow Song is just like, oh yes, of course, but at the inn where you're staying.
Yes, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Of course, yes. I hope that you found something. And she just kind of
Azara goes,
smiles.
Investigation is always such a lengthy process. Nothing yet, but always keeping our hearts and minds open, and just smiles at her.
She just smiles back and is just like, oh, well, I hope that it can help your friend. And then she just makes her way to leave. Yep.
Azara will kind of walk out with Agnis and with Alyssa and make sure that they are far from the range of where, and Sarah Lee's coming with us too, but very, very, very far away. Like they're going in opposite directions at this point.
Sure. Yeah, you can wait and see which way she goes and then go the other way. Yeah.
Yeah. Want to make sure that like, because the inn is not in the way of the dungeons. Right?
No. The scepter is in a
Right.
part of the city. The inn is you're going to have to go out and go down main roads and down streets. Like
Yes.
like
just want to make sure that
very far away.
We're not being followed or any of that good stuff.
I mean, you can. I've got your passive perception written down. I will let you know if you see me.
Gotcha. Well, I think once we've left the building and I know that she's still in the building, I'd like to send a message to Agnis and say, we may be compromised. We can only trust each other right now.
Agnis nods and looks around like, should I not speak?
You can message back.
All right. Well, I guess I tell her all that I saw. I show her the paper and how it changes when I touch it.
Yeah, it changes when Azara touches it as well. But the second if you hand it to Alyssa, it changes back to just the magical thesis boring text. Same with Sarah Lee. If Sarah Lee holds it, it just looks like normal magical thesis text. Sarah Lee, if you offer it to Sarah Lee, she'll actually point out like, oh yes, I this is a spell I'm familiar with. It's called Illusory Script. You can make writing appear something different to somebody else. It's often used to send messages and secret codes and that sort of thing.
And the books missing were regarding summoning fey creatures, which could, I suppose this information could be valuable enough to someone to steal or murder, but it seems unlikely. It could be that they wanted this information not to be known by others.
It absolutely could be. And I think that my findings would be best discussed once we are positive. And she kind of like looks at Agnis, knowing, I think Azara would know that Agnis is like really keen eyes, right? Like that she's pretty perceptive.
Yeah, I think so.
Then she'd say, this would best be discussed knowing that it is just us in a room alone. And just kind of like
lead the way.
I think like Agnis would catch as Azara saying this with message, or are you saying that out loud?
Out loud too.
Okay, so I think Alyssa looks a little bit sort of like Agnis would notice that Alyssa is like, oh, like you see like a little, and Sarah Lee is like looks a bit nervous and scared, but the two of them, like when you're saying we should discuss this alone, like they feel kind of a bit sort of like, oh, okay.
I was meaning to say things back in message. Since
you were? Okay, then I would have said it in a message as well.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah,
that's fine. No sad Alyssa.
And then I gesture, Magister Azara, we should retire. Lead the way to a chamber where we can discuss.
Yes, I think that's best. Does the inn have like a basement or like a
doesn't have a basement, but you have your own rooms. You have rooms that you can lock and stuff. Yeah. You have your own rooms there. So
then I would lead her to my room.
While you guys are doing that, I'm just going to check in with Tarkhal and Marcel. What would you guys want to do after speaking with Dusk? Where would you guys probably head to?
I guess as like we're leaving the dungeon, Tarkhal, Marcel, do you think that we should inform Agnis and Azara about this before we go and try to find this fountain in green light, or should we just go?
Well, there's more safety in numbers, so that would probably be wise to inform them.
Well, they were going to check out the scene of the crime, so maybe we just go back to the inn, have a drink. What is it, like 1 PM, 10 AM? What time
it is like 10 AM, yeah, because you guys were pretty much summoned here early in the morning and everything has happened since then. As you guys are making your way out, because they would have been investigating the room as you were talking to Dusk, just as you're about to kind of like make your way out of the scepter, you do hear Willow's song, like Tarkhal kind of called out to you, and she is kind of skipping or like sort of like half running to try and catch up with you.
Oh, Willow's song, yes. How did everything go in the room?
Yes, I don't really know. I didn't feel like I was particularly useful. The others have headed back to the inn, and they said for you to meet them there. I think Magister Azara may have picked up on something, and Baroness Crownsilver was looking at some books and things like that. But yes, I'm afraid it's all a little bit over my head. I can't imagine it's easy being a war wizard like that. Gosh, it seems like you would become so paranoid, constantly having to look into matters and these sorts of things.
Yeah, I don't envy Azara's position, though.
No,
I
not at all.
guess I know something of paranoia since talking to your mother and kind of, sitting on the fence about things. Speaking of which, is there any chance you could ask her if she could help with this situation? Dusk is very important to me, and I don't want to see him go down for something he didn't do.
I'll need to communicate with her. I'll need to head to a garden or somewhere like that, somewhere with nature. But yes, I can. Of course, I will. And I think that for you, she'd be more than willing to help out as best she can. But she is a creature of nature. When you say help, how exactly? This is something we must be quite specific with. She could probably help Dusk escape if that's what you're looking for, or do you wish to try and help track down Davian? Or
I think the number one priority right now is proving Dusk's innocence. Him escaping while he is a suspect is only going to make him more suspect.
Yes. Yes. Well, I can ask her to try and help if I think that Davian must be involved somehow. The way that he was speaking of you all, and I don't know. I have the feeling that he's involved in all this somehow. I could ask her to try and find him, or perhaps help locate something that might help us.
That would be good. Just make sure she finds him alive. Obviously, we know your mother could go overboard, so.
Yes, she needs to be guided in that way. But yes, of course I will. Would you like me to do that now, or come back to the inn with?
I think the sooner and I hate when she says that with you, and he kind of like does like a little But we do. I do have to catch up with Azara and Agnis. Marcel and I do. So I think if you do this now, maybe we could make time later to talk.
That would be nice. And she kind of just smiles at you and says, well, I'll go and speak with them now. Give my love to Agnis and Azara, and I hope that whatever they found is useful in solving all of this. And then she just like awkwardly goes to leave, basically.
Go find a patch of woods somewhere. Just to talk
yeah,
to
she's
Mom.
Basically going to go to like a local park and be like, "Hey, Mom, please help." Yeah,
sitting on a patch of grass somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, yeah, you guys make your way back to the inn. Marcel, yep, definitely overhears it, but I can't imagine Marcel would have anything to interject with. But please tell me if that's a wrong assumption, Nate.
He's interested.
Okay.
I don't know. He was more like just absorbing. Like, hey, can we go to the woods and talk to this thing, this being? He's like, oh, I guess we're just talking about this then. All right.
Yes. I guess. And Tarkhal, as we're walking back to the inn, I think Tarkhal would just like fill Marcel in on like woman, dreams, talk to me, sprite, and that I'm kind of like trying to swoo my way into this phase, like life, not Willow Song specifically, but her mom, that I think that her power could be useful. And I think that her mindset, that the gluttony and the greed that plagues Eveningstar and the rest of Cormier is prevalent and should be addressed.
Sounds interesting.
Yes, it's happening all kind of oddly. Obviously, there's a lot of other things going on. But just, I guess, keep an eye out for me. I feel like sometimes it's hard to see your own blind spots. So if anything's ever amiss, I trust you, Marcel.
Oh, fair enough.
And then I guess we'll just head back to the inn.
Cool. You guys make your way back and you find Agnis and Azara waiting for you. There, along with a very confused, tired-looking Aaron, who just doesn't really know what to do with himself. It looks like he's probably tried to get things like some of your clothes cleaned and do Dusk's jobs, but he hasn't done them very well. You know, one of the tunics has shrunk, and so like you know, one of the shoes is all dirty because he dropped it on his way back or something like that. Like he's just like, he's like, I think I've got dinner ready, and he's just trying to sort it all out, but he's a bit useless.
He's trying.
He's trying his best.
I just want to ask, I think that before the boys got back, Azara would have wanted to have a small conversation with Agnis.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay. I just guess that once they get back to the inn, Azara will like rush Agnis into a room and ask, can you just be sure that there's no one outside the window, outside the door, that you don't perceive that we're being listened to?
I give the room and every opening a thorough sweep.
I'm just trying to think of timelines on stuff. Yeah, I mean, you sweep around, make a perception check for me, I guess, but yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be good because it's always good. And it's a nat 20 on top of that. Just for fun, I want to tell you that makes it a, let's see, perception. That means it's a 27.
27. Nice. You make a very quick check. You check the hallways, you check outside the windows, even just kind of like trying to get a sense of if there's anything invisible or unnatural about the room. It feels safe. You feel that you can confidently talk here and no one will overhear it. You don't get a sense of anything spying on you or listening in.
Great.
Agnis, you've asked me to call you Agnis, if you don't mind addressing you informally here. Now, as my time as a dog, which was quite an experience, I picked up some interesting scents. I didn't find Dusk at all. There was not a hint of them there, but we're not surprised. I obviously smelled Panem. This is his home. I smelled whatever strange smoke or poison was used to harm his lungs and was eating away at his desk, which I made note to go back and see if I can get a sample of later. And I did smell something interesting. I smelled a gentle perfume, and I've smelled it before.
That's a huge lead. Who is it?
Now, I'm not saying that she has anything to do with this. This could just be a horrible coincidence. But I don't know if you noticed my slight veering as a dog sniffing towards the doorway. I smelled it on Willow Song. Now, whether this is just a scent that she has, a specific perfume, someone she hung out with, possibly the man on her arm from earlier. What was his name?
Davian Cormorel.
Davian was quite close to her. It wasn't a strong scent. I couldn't tell if this was something she was wearing or rubbed off on her, but she has either had contact with our perpetrator or is said perpetrator, and we know barely anything of this Willow Song at this point.
Well, if she is our ally, then she certainly will submit to a Zone of Truth spell and tell us everything she knows.
I think that would be wise at this point. I wanted to talk to you first because I do know that your brother is fond of her, and I don't want there to be conflict, but if you would like to place a Zone of Truth spell on me, I am here to serve you.
I put a hand on her arm and I'm like, I have no doubt in your honesty and sincerity. This friend of my brother's, we shall see.
Azara kind of like smiles in that knowing way. Thank you, Agnis. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your trust in this matter, and I do hope that we can solve whatever this is and free our poor Dusk. He has been quite helpful and useful in our endeavors, hasn't he?
And it is wonderful to hear that neither you or I have found any evidence that Dusk was involved here, and you certainly would have recognized his scent. So it's nice to have that reassurance that we can be confident in our friend.
Absolutely. It's good to know we're not biased. It will be interesting to broach this subject when the rest of our team joins us, but I'm glad that we had a chance to talk.
Agnis looks like not sad enough about the fact that Shadowbriar might have been involved. Like, you know, this should be heartbreaking that this is someone that had kind of become a friend, but like she takes way too much delight in talking about how like she's a friend of Tarkhal's, like very clearly big sister like hates the new girlfriend kind of situation. But she's like, well, it will be very simple. She will certainly submit to a zone of truth and find out.
I think that
either we will prove she is a liar and a hussy, or not.
Yeah,
or I will accept her.
when she said Tarkhal's new friend, there was a pause where if you were reading her mind, the words like, you know, harlot, trollop, all those would have gone through.
Wow.
Dang.
Damn. Well, that seems, unless there's anything else, I think.
No, that's it.
We'll have the lads arrive back at the
boys.
inn.
The toilet
boys. Toilet boys return.
We've arrived from the toilets.
Yeah, you guys can all hook up and fill each other in.
So how did the investigation go at the scene?
It was interesting. We've definitely found a lot of evidence pointing towards anyone other than Dusk.
That's a relief.
We have found also a parchment left behind by Peña that only reacts seemingly so far to Agnis and myself. So Peña seemed to have known that this was sensitive matters that he was dealing with and wanted to keep it hidden from the general public, the royalty, the rest of the war wizards. He only trusted us. There's a small matter that we must attend to, but first I'd like to know what you all found out from Dusk.
Well, Dusk has been hiding things from us, things from his past, that he has been in ties with the Black Network. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Zentrum. Awkwardly stares at DM for confirmation whether they're familiar with Zentrum.
Yeah, are we?
I would say you can both make history checks.
17.
Okay.
20.
So very much, I think like Tarkhal, Agnis, you have definitely heard of the Black Network. They are kind of known throughout Toril and Faerun. Some people call them, you know, like, no, they're just merchants and traders. Like all the rumors about them aren't true. And then there's a lot of people like, no, they're smugglers and thieves and they do dodgy black market stuff. You know, there's a lot of talk about them. It's very unusual for them to probably it'd probably be very strange for the idea of them to act in Cormyr, to be active here, because it's kind of very against their, you know, Cormyr is a very lawful, good kind of place in general. So the Zentrum might struggle a bit here, but yeah, you've definitely heard of them and you know the sort of thing they're up to. Azara, you would know it more from the kind of court days and serving a thing of like, of course the Zentrum work here. Right. Of course they're involved with the nobles and the courts. A lot of the nobility will use them to get jobs done and to, you know, make things happen and hire mercenaries. And, oh, isn't that convenient that that particular person who wanted that title and that land, they're dead now. Ho ho, lucky me. You know, there's a lot of that stuff that does happen behind closed doors. Cormyr is still a pretty lawful, good place, but that doesn't mean that everybody in it is applying by those rules. So, gotcha. And that's where the Zentrum comes in, because it's a nice third party to make problems go away without you being involved. So yeah, the both of you have definitely heard of them and know the basics.
So then seeing them nod, like when I mentioned the Zentrum, Tarkhal will just continue. Dusk was once an agent for the Zentrum, and who he was meeting with, Xander, also works with the network. He gave us information on how to maybe find Xander, and Dusk doesn't seem hopeful that he'll be of any help freeing or proving Dusk's innocence, but I think that we can perhaps use our power, or maybe just money that we will be obviously coming into as Eveningstar grows, to prove Dusk's innocence. Because as you said, you know that there's plenty of evidence that says that he was not there. Did you guys get to look at the body? Was there evidence of anything of that nature?
We were told that the strength that would be needed to cause the injuries that were fatal would be mighty, that a great warrior with intense strength must have made them, and to me that doesn't describe Dusk.
However, we also were informed that the wards that a powerful war wizard has cast were broken, and the door was still locked from the inside, possibly via a mage teleporting, polymorphing, what have you. There was also not just the poison in the body's back from a green dragon, possibly on the dagger, probably on the dagger, but a inhalant, a deep poison that got within his lungs and blackened his lungs.
Did you tell me that it came from the door?
I did.
Okay. Then I'll say it is my theory that this must have been someone that Panem knew, because he must have taken his wards down, opened the door. The attacker attacked him from the doorway, stepped in and locked the door after them. That's my theory.
I would have to agree. And now this is just a working theory. I did spend some time as a dog, as our kind of hesitates because that sounds very interesting.
Sounds crude.
It does. I spent some time thinking, if Agnis is taking care of sight, we must take care of smell. And that's when I smelled this poison, very, very carcinogenic. It was horrible, but I smelled no signs of dusk, and I smelled a sweet perfume. Could have been a cologne. Seems more like a perfume. And I continued my search and smelled the scent coming from Willowsong as well. Now, it was faint. I'm not suggesting she dons this perfume. I'm not suggesting she is the culprit. She was spending considerable time with Davian. She was leaning on him. She was arm in arm with him. That could account for the faint smell. It is concerning that these scents do match up.
I think that's fantastic. I think that you've nailed it. I've been suspecting Davian this whole time, and it would only make sense. The only way that her scent would be in that room is if the man she was arm in arm with, it needed to be someone strong who pierced this war wizard. There's no way Willowsong, you see her, she doesn't have the strength of a warrior, of a tournament winner. So it could not be her. This is brilliant.
She may not have the strength on the outside, but she is half Fey, as you've told us, which means that she does have an unworldly strength about her. I think possibly if Sir Davian maybe said something that she didn't quite register, I think that it would be in everybody's best interest to get everyone in a truth-warded room and ask some questions, just to get to the bottom of this. Say this is Sir Davian. She was spending hours with him. Possibly she could let us know something even further.
Well, this works out. She's actually going to do her best to find Davian and give us a way to track him. So I completely agree that if we can get everyone in the same room, forcibly or not, a zone of truth would be the best way to do this. Yes, I want nothing more than to prove Dusk's innocence, and it sounds like I'm just proud of you guys. As a brother and a friend, this is good work.
Azara kind of like looks at Agnis, like, I don't think he's quite getting it. Can you help me out here?
She puts a hand on his arm and she's like, none of us would be so cruel as to suspect your sweet Willowsong. But this is all the better that we have a lead, and she certainly, as our ally and a trusted friend of yours, would be able to sit in a zone of truth and clear her name. And I'm like, clear her name. And I try to make it very clear to him that it's not just her associates we're suspecting, it's her.
Wait, are you? So you have multiple. And Tarkhal kind of like. He's like reflecting on the other moments at which he has expressed his thoughts and been met with stark brick walls, let's call them. So he stops and he says, "No, yes, of course, yes. I understand her scent was there, so of course she must be a suspect in this case, despite the counter evidence that exists. And I think it's fine that she sits in a zone of truth. I think she'll think it's fine as soon as she's done tracking Davian down for us. But in the meantime, perhaps we should also do some searching of our own and focus on gaining more information to free Dusk. Maybe we can track down this Xander. He gave us information to find a fountain. And Marcel, do you remember that riddle? The coins and the beggar.
Oh, I was thinking about something else.
I don't blame you. It was lengthy, and I'll have to recollect. Yes, but I told her to meet us back at the inn. So when she comes back, we can wait for her, and you can truth her, spell her all you want, and hopefully she'll have answers on finding Davian then.
I also want to fill them in on the stuff I found about the weapon that Peña had been researching, so that this weapon could have connections to Cormyrean nobility, and we think that that might be also related to Cormorel, and just fill them in on all of that, and that the books on summoning a creature from the Feywild were gone, which could mean that they wanted to summon something, or it could mean they didn't want other people to know how to summon something, either one. Nice. And then I fill them in on all that, and then I say, but certainly if you think the best next step is to search for this Xavier, then we should do that.
Xander.
Xander.
You said the weapon has noble ties?
Mm-hmm.
And
it may. We don't know for sure, but Peña suspected that it might be one of these ancient elven weapons that were given to Cormyrean nobility.
Well, that checks out, because when that, I guess I would say, possessed person slammed the dagger down, they did belch something about the original nobility and places, land being returned to original owners and whatever nonsense it was. Once again, points more to Davian. So +1 for you, Agnis. I think that's fantastic.
And then Azara will chime in and say, and dear Tarkhal, the books that were missing were on the Feywild, and everything has so far been connected to the Feywild. These could be complete coincidences.
I don't think it's a coincidence. Davian was lugging around Willowsong, who is half Fey, and maybe he's seeking some way to control the Fey. I think Willowsong just seems like a pawn in this. We'll find out when we do.
Tarkhal, doesn't Azara just sound paranoid?
I'm not disputing that, Sir Crownsilver. I also would like to make sure that your affections are not clouding your judgment.
Tarkhal kind of just does one of those the memes where you blink 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Marcel, is Marcel just kind of watching all of this and sort of mulling it over? Is there anything Marcel's thinking or wanting to do?
He's definitely just kind of absorbing. There's conflict between team members over circumstances that he's not really all too sure about, nor really applies to him too much for him to take too much interest.
Mm-hmm.
But he's trying to care.
Yeah, he's trying. I think Marcel, real Marcel.
I'm trying to care.
He senses. I think your brother senses that, and you kind of get a pleasing, I'm proud of you, brother. You're trying kind of vibe from the sword. No words, but just the emotions of I'm proud of you. You're doing your best.
He chimes in. He's like, with accusations going around and who is suspicious of what, I'm picking up on some hostility among us. Stop.
Azara will come out and say, I genuinely have no feeling toward any suspect. I just would like to see Dusk, who we've known since the inception of our Eveningstar stay, has been nothing but kind to us. So I would like to make sure that we are doing everything in his best interest and not our personal interests, because that is what I was trained to do, and that is what I will do until the day I die.
Great.
There you go. Marcel has spoken. I think that maybe an hour would pass before Willowsong returns to the inn. So if there's anything you guys want to do, if not, I can just jump in and have her return, and then you can go from there, basically.
Unless Tarkhal wanted to go look for Xander now.
No, I was fine with waiting. Yeah.
Okay.
So an hour passes. Aaron gets you some food and some drink. Manages to kind of like pull it together. He brings a dinner up for you all, and then goes to eat by himself in his little room whilst you guys are attending to things. Alyssa kind of takes a moment. I think maybe like Alyssa would spend some time with Aaron, sort of like, all right, come on, boy, pick up your sword. Let's go do some practice while we're waiting. And she would kind of like take him off to do that. Sarah Lee goes up to Azara's room and is poring over books and studying the various things that she's been researching. And then, yeah, about an hour later, Willowsong arrives. And I think, looking at my clock, that is where we have to end today's episode. So,
We start with Willowsong next time.
It's 5 minutes. It's
I
5
know.
minutes. We
No,
gotta stop.
it's honestly good. It's a good ending point.
So I just, there's a lot of suspicions being thrown around. I don't know why. God, what's all this about, eh? What's all this about? I can't help when chat is like, Mark's smiling, Mark's smirking. It makes me smile more. So they have got like this wrong impression from me smiling because I'm laughing at them. So I find it very funny. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Let's do shout outs and where people can find us and what we do and all of that good stuff. And let's start with Mica.
Oh God, I was not ready for that. Hi, I'm Mica. You can find me everywhere at Mica Burton. Do I have things happening? I don't know, you guys. I can't.
Critter Hug.
Oh yeah, I do Critter Hug on the Critical Role channel. Thank you, Mark. Go watch that. Nate.
Hello. I absorbed.
You're all the worst.
I absorbed the energy of like, I don't know anything about anything at all. So I was gonna be like vote, but that's
over.
That's done.
That's done now.
I got nothing.
Count them.
I hope everyone had a great season 2, episode 1.
There you go. Thanks, man. Yeah.
Don't forget though, he wants to battle. He's NateWantsToBattle. Plug your handle.
Oh, I should plug. I've been streaming at youtube.com.
Nice.
There you go.
There we
That's
go.
Something.
Opening Pokemon cards. This is from today, and it's all trash, which is great. Shady.
There you go. I'm sure that if you want to, we'll have some more Pokemon related shenanigans coming up when Shady tells us about what he does. Let's do Anna.
That's what? Nate tagged me.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Anna. Go ahead. The DM makes the rules.
I just thought it'd be funnier to go to Anna and then come back to you. But yeah.
No, since we're talking about Pokemon cards, we should go to Shady.
We should go Shady.
All right, we'll get it out of the way. Hi guys, I'm ShadyPenguinn. You guys can follow me on Twitter at ShadyPenguinn. It's gonna be the best place to go because right now I'm opening a bunch of different cards, including Pokemon cards on ShadyPenguinn Collects. I tweet out those videos when I do upload every single day. Also, this episode was fantastic. I hope you guys had a good time. Nate's wearing my shirt, and I've been gleaming on the inside ever since. It's a ShadyPenguinn shirt, and it makes me real happy. I'm gonna tag Anna.
Aw. My next show will be tomorrow. I'll be on Ven's guest house, and there will be some D&D stuff. I'm going to be teaching Chrissy, their host, how to make a character and playing her first D&D session with her, just a short one. And then on Friday, it will be the second episode of Extra Brains, which is my new brainstorming talk show with DJ Wheat, who was my co-host of Twitch Weekly and who I've worked with and for a very long time before I left Twitch.
I love
Wheat.
Wheat.
And the show is us attempting to lend our brain power to you. So we take submitted questions and talk over topics and try to solve any problems and lend you whatever brainstorming power we have. So this will be our first episode that's all just that instead of, introducing ourselves and getting to know. And then on Monday, I'll have Echoes of Eternity, which is a Star Wars role-playing show. That'll be on my channel. Extra Brains is also on my channel. I think that's it until this show. Mark, what about you?
Hey, you can catch me doing more dungeon mastering on my D&D show. It's called High Rollers D&D. Me and a bunch of my UK friends, we've been doing it for nearly 5 years now. It's going to be our 5th year anniversary in January. We're going through our second campaign at the minute. That's on twitch.tv/High Rollers D&D. It's also on YouTube. It's a podcast. Come along and check that out. That's like my main show I do. I also have a YouTube channel, which I've just recently started back up. I started a brand new channel and I've been uploading there. Lots of funny stuff, like me doing my Halloween costume, me doing like D&D stuff, and then LARP and all sorts of nonsense on there. And then I'm going to hopefully start Twitch streaming again on my channel, which is Sherlock_Hulmes, including this Friday, where I think I'm going to be super weird and just stream me reading a book for like 8 hours. And
Love it.
That's it. It's just going to be me reading. So come and watch that maybe. But yeah, that's it. So come and check out that stuff that I do. Thanks again for an amazing episode 1 of season 2. I'm super glad to be back. I think we're pretty much out of time, but yeah, I hope you guys have had fun. You guys had fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad.
We'll be back. Fine.
Yeah, we'll be back next week, and then we'll see where all of these accusations and the mysteries and the suspicion goes. I'm sure that there's a great explanation for everything.
I'm sure.
That was so fun to have like a mystery whodunit episode. Thank you, Mark.
I was just happy to have stumped the DM for like 5 seconds. That was dope.
Yeah, I did the Bloodhound thing. That was a total galaxy brain. I was like, yeah. That's the thing.
That. Shit.
So yeah, we will see how that all progresses next week for more Knights of Eveningstar. Take care, everybody. We love you.
Cowabunga, bras.
Cowabunga, dudes.